So welcome everybody. My name is Debbie. I'm the president of Sound Advice this year. I wanted to say welcome to guests and members and thank you each for making the time to join us tonight. The club's mission is to serve the district and beyond, and we hope that everyone on this call and watching the recording later on will gain something that will give them a better understanding of how to perform contests and also to see the value that Sound Advice brings to the district. I do hope that you will refer to the resources that will also be made available to you after the meeting. I do encourage you to be mindful of muting and unmuting and really paying attention to the directions that Kyle will provide for the meeting tonight. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and read off Kyle's intro. So due to the current pandemic, our clubs can't meet in person. A few people have simply stopped going. Many clubs have decided to brave the strange and started to move online. A quick aside, last month, Sound Advice had a meeting dedicated to allowing remote participation in club meetings. The recording of that meeting is on our district's YouTube channel. In addition to clubs not meeting in person, TI has declared that no in-person contests can be held. Our district has decided that we will not bow to the pandemic, but will instead continue to hold our international and evaluation speech contests online. But how do we do that? We may have learned to hold a club meeting on Zoom, but how do we hold a contest on Zoom? How is a contest different than a club meeting? At tonight's Sound Advice meeting, these questions will be answered, and we'll make another recording for our district YouTube channel. To lead our expert panel tonight is the person who takes contests seriously. He has emceed, planned, judged, and competed in more contests than he can remember. Maybe that means a lot of contests, or maybe it means a poor memory. In 2003, he earned the right to represent his district in the World Championship of Public Speaking, and he looks forward to doing so soon, being able to compete again. Please join me in welcoming Kyle Hall.
Thanks, everybody. It's great to see. For those of you, I think everybody saw the hand waving. This is applause on the systems. So I'm going to ask you to keep yourself muted unless you're called on. And if later on when we do the Q&A in our panel session, if you want to ask a question, you'll be able to type it into the chat, and my assistant Joanna will call on you and/or read your question for you. We have a panel tonight to talk about how do we run a contest on Zoom. Our district has bought Zoom for us. We'll be using it for our area contests and for our division contests and for our district contests. So how do we run a contest on Zoom? How is this a contest different? Now, we've all gone to club meetings. Well, I shouldn't say we've all. Some of us have gone to club meetings on Zoom, and they're working out. Maybe there are a few hiccups, road bumps, little cliffs along the way. We have a few laughs. We pick ourselves up, dust ourselves off, go back again. But if you're like me, you've seen competitions where you really need to have your ducks in a row. You need to take it seriously. Some of our competitors take it very seriously, and even if they don't, we need to make sure that we do the process right, so that when the contest is done, not only does the audience say, "Hey, that was a good contest," but the people who are moving on to the next level are going, "That worked," and the people who aren't moving on to the next level are going, "That worked. It was fair." We're not going to talk a great deal tonight about the traditional contest roles of chair and Toastmaster and judge and sergeant ups. We're not going to talk a lot about their roles in general, because those roles haven't changed. Only certain aspects of those roles have changed, and we'll talk about that as we go. Now, you may be wondering, why are we on GoToMeeting? We're talking about running a contest on Zoom. Why are we on GoToMeeting? Well, we are going to show you some aspects of Zoom that you may not have seen because they're not required for a normal club meeting. One of those aspects, for instance, is breakout rooms. And we could all sit in a Zoom meeting right now and we could use a breakout room. But the person who's driving the Zoom controls, if we were all on Zoom and if that person was sharing their screen, we would not see anything that they are doing. We could all move into a breakout room and move back out, but we couldn't see what she did to set up the breakout room because Zoom doesn't show you the controls that the host is using while you're in the Zoom meeting. By the way, GoToMeeting does the exact same thing. I have some GoToMeeting controls over here, and you won't see them because GoToMeeting, even if I shared my screen, you won't see the GoToMeeting controls because GoToMeeting edits those out. They assume you don't want to see them. So the only way for us to watch somebody on Zoom manipulate the Zoom controls is for us to be on a different tool. So we're on GoToMeeting. Now, later on, some of us are going to move over to Zoom so we can run a mock contest, and you'll see how that works. But everybody else, everybody who is not participating in the mock contest, who is not a presenter, will stay here on GoToMeeting. A few of our presenters will stay here on GoToMeeting, and we'll just do that information here. Now, in the unlikely event that this using two tools doesn't work, if using GoToMeeting and Zoom at the same time blows up, we have a backup plan, and we'll go over that at the time. But I don't think it will. I think this will work because we've been trying it, we've been testing it. We haven't tested it with 38 people, but we've been testing it. So we're going to get started, and we're going to get started with our first panelist, because I'm your panel moderator. Our first panelist tonight is Michael Davison. And he is one of our district's new Nerdmasters. The Nerdmasters are a ragtag group of technically minded Toastmasters who have banded together to help clubs in this challenging time. Michael has been involved in technology for over 4 decades. He believes in the Nerdmasters' mission to help our clubs not just survive, but thrive online. Our clubs will do this by applying available technologies, allowing us to continue to meet, to grow, and even to compete, even while we stay apart. He has used the Zoom conferencing platform for years professionally and is going to present this evening on the differences between running a contest, running a meeting, and running a contest on Zoom. Please help me welcome Michael Davison.
Thank you very much, Mr. Toastmaster of the evening, and our fellow guests, as well as our fellow Toastmasters out there. I hope you can hear me okay. Please give me a thumbs up if you can. Yay, very good. Okay, thank you so much for inviting me, and I'm here. I'm very pleased to be able to represent the Nerdmasters that are at our meeting this evening. Thank you so much for coming. I am assuming that everybody here either has or is currently experiencing a Zoom meeting or an online virtual conferencing meeting of some kind. And so I'm here to talk a little bit tonight about the differences that you're experiencing right now. So I'm assuming you've already have some background in this particular area. But of course, contests are more structured than regular meetings. As Kyle said earlier, you know, in a meeting, if we flub something, we could back up and do it over. But in a contest, we want to have our A game on. We want to support our presenters. We want to give them their opportunities to do their best presentation. So in addition to knowing the regular contest rules, TI has also published a set of modifications that you'll want to use when you're doing a virtual contest, and you should familiarize yourself with those. They're on the TI website, and you can find out what they are. Now, one of the things that's different in a contest versus a meeting is that in a regular meeting, you just have one big room and everybody's part of it. Okay, you might have the waiting room as you come in, but everybody comes in and they're in one room, but you have a necessary sense of isolation, particularly for the evaluation contest when you do that. And so we do that using this device that Kyle mentioned earlier called breakout rooms that allows people to be assigned to virtual spaces. And typically a contest will have 3 of these breakout rooms. They'll have one for the contestants, they'll have one for the judges, and they'll have another for consulting, for talking about any issues that might come up during that time where the officials of the contest might need to speak to somebody. So how do you keep those separate? Those are one of the things that you want to think a little bit about and you want to practice. Another thing is to know a little bit about how your responsibilities have shifted a little bit for the contest. So for example, if you're a timer, how are you going to show your particular colors during the presentation? If you're going to be a judge, how are you going to send in your results? How are you going to distribute the judging forms? So you need to think a little bit more about the logistics in a virtual world. And then finally, in preparing, you really want to make sure that you know your space. For example, you can be very close and you can be very far during these particular types of things, and you're giving people different impressions by that. Your field of interaction is different than it is in a regular room. Everything here is directed toward the camera, or you can do it aside or something like that, but you have basically one set of eyes that you're playing to rather than many. So these are all things about knowing your space. But even more importantly, in a virtual contest, you need to know your equipment. And I mean by that, if you're going to use Zoom, your Zoom software, know your computer, know its capabilities, know how to use the camera on it, how to set the microphone, how to sound clearly and succinctly in ways that people can understand you. This is important whether you're going to be a contestant or whether you're going to be an official, because communication, as we know in Toastmasters, is key. So another thing that you'll want to know too, and I really think you should practice, you should get a Zoom account if you don't have one already, and find out what it's like to be behind that. Get to know where those little controls are across the bottom and how to use them in those particular times so that you're just totally comfortable with it. They're not a distraction during your particular contest at that time. The other thing is that I always recommend that contests should have a dry run before you do it. It could be in some time before the contest take place, or it could be a day or two ahead. In fact, I like the day or two ahead because if you find out your equipment isn't up to the task, let's say you need another headset or something like that to be able to do that, you'll have a time to go out and procure that before the actual event occurs. And then the other thing is make sure you do, before your presentation, you do a sound check and a video check. You might see yourself well on the screen, but you want to make sure that other people are seeing you out there as well. So these are all things that are there. Another thing might be like sound and light. You notice I'm in a little bit of a dark space right now where I'm at right there. So lighting can make a difference. And particularly if you're a contestant, you want to take that into consideration. It's going to play a little bit more of a role than it would in the general room that you're going to be in during that time. And I think we'll have a presenter talk a little bit more about looking good on camera in a little bit. So another thing to consider too is using a wireless microphone during this time. If you get into a big room and you want to use gestures in front of the camera, because that's certainly one of the things you're going to be judged on, you want to make sure that you can be heard no matter where you're at. So wireless headset, earbuds with a microphone on them are good things to have during that particular time. And then also think about the perspective of the camera, where the focus is, what the background is doing behind you. And you want to reduce the distractions so that people can focus on your presentation. And finally, during a contest, we want to make sure that we're conserving bandwidth so as many people can participate as possible. Some people do have bandwidth limitations in their internet connections. So we advise that people not use their cameras when they're not needed. So also, again, mute your microphone when you don't have anything to say or when you don't have a particular purpose, because background noises can happen while things are going on. In fact, I've got dogs in this room right now that could bark at any moment. So I would like to just consider what you could do there during that particular time. So mute when you're not speaking, and I think you'll have a great contest. Even though this is a little different, we're in a virtual world, it's definitely one we can adapt to, and I encourage you to give it a try out. Do some try runs, maybe get together with another Toastmaster online, have one-on-one, get comfortable with that technology. Think about the isolation, the organization of the rooms, and know how these responsibilities are changing, and be prepared with your equipment and your software all ready to go, and I think you'll have a great contest. Thank you very much, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Michael. Now, Lori, would you make Linda presenter? And Linda will share her screen in a minute. Linda Rothman is our second panelist tonight, and she hails from Mount Vernon, which is the home of the Tulip Festival. Linda is on the District 2 Online Task Force, which was created to support District 2's online contests. And Linda has held the role of Vice President of Education and Vice President of Public Relations for the Skagit Valley Speakers Club and the Digital Transformation Toastmasters. Digital Transformation is D2's first online-only club. They've been in existence for about 2 years now. Linda has the technical experience of being host and co-host, of playing those roles for multiple contests, and plans to share some of the fundamental Zoom skills we need to know and how we apply them to contests. So please help me welcome Linda Rothman.
Thank you, Kyle. I just shared my screen and I lost what was up on it, so I have to figure out what I'm doing here. This is very tricky, doing 2 screen shares at once, so I'm not going to.
You probably want to turn your camera on GoToMeeting off, unless you're on 2 systems.
It's not that. I have my screen ready to go, but then when I screen shared it, I'm gonna have to do it through Zoom. I wasn't planning to do that. Okay, is my little GoToMeeting window obscuring the rest of my window here?
Nope.
Okay, good. So I just wanted to show you the online task force just to honor all the people that are on the task force. These are the names of everybody on the task force. So since I already had this slide, I thought I'd show that. The task force was created just a few days before our very first online contest. So we kind of just learned a lot by just doing, and like Kyle said, just kind of making little mistakes and laughing as we went. So trying to make my GoToMeeting really tiny. Sorry about that. Hopefully that's better. So Michael Dugan's wife, Carrie, is also on the task force, and she was kind enough to make this handout. So I thought what I'd do for this first bit is just go through her handout that's mostly about breakout rooms. And then the real meat and potatoes is going to come through the dry run, because that's when the real fun begins. So the task force started with just doing documentation on paper to help everybody understand where we're at. There's a list of 25 steps that we take inside of a Zoom account prior to even starting the contest. And I sent that to Kyle, and I'm sure he'll amend it to suit your district and share that out. But one of the steps, obviously, is to enable the breakout rooms in the settings ahead of time. If you don't have that set up, it's just not going to work if you have it turned off. So then it comes to the contest, and this is what we're going to be talking about later, is setting up the breakout rooms themselves. So what I always do is I take my chat room and I put it off to the side. I don't use full screen. I have my chat room to the right, and then I have participants above the chat room. And you'll see them listed there. And as you go through the process of your meeting, the list of names evolves and rotates. It is not static. So if you're going to try to take an action on somebody through the participant list, I would recommend using the search, which you don't see on this slide here, but there's a search up at the top. I would put all or part of their name in the search at the top so that you only have the one person showing. What happens here is it'll show the first person showing will be host, the second person will be co-host, and any other co-host positions. The next person showing will be whoever happens to be speaking at the moment. So that obviously changes quite a bit. And then after that, it's alphabetical. And as you see here, I see their microphone and I can see that there's a red line through it, so I know that they're muted. And also I see their video camera and I see a red line through that, so I know that they're muted. As the host and also as the Zoom co-host position, which are both technical words for roles inside of Zoom, we have the power to mute and unmute people and also to turn their video camera on or off. We don't turn their camera on, we just request that they turn it on. When you click that, they get a message and it says the host has asked you to please turn on your camera. And then they can say either later or just go ahead and turn it on. As you see at the bottom, this is also something that you set up, and it's one of those 25 steps that people have to turn on their toolbar at the bottom of their screen. Now, not everybody keeps it turned on all the time. Some people hide it, so you have to move your mouse down to the bottom to make it pop up. I don't like it that way. I like mine to be on 24/7. But if you're dealing with somebody as a technician and they do not have it on, one way is to tell them to press the escape key, and then it will pop up down here at the bottom. And everybody is pretty familiar with most of these tools down at the bottom. You know, we have the unmute and unmute off to the side, the start video. This is an old screen. The invite has now moved with the latest update, and I would highly recommend, if you haven't updated, I would definitely update your Zoom before you get involved with everybody else so that you're all on the same page, because things do move around. Like I said, invite is now over under participants. Mine says manage participants, but that's because I'm the host and I'm managing them, but yours will just say participants. This is where you share your screen, but of course, that's one of the 25 steps. We do not allow anybody to share their screen unless we give them permission. And we do that by assigning them as the co-host. And that's why we need to know if any contestants are going to share a PowerPoint or want to share their screen for any reason, which I don't personally advise that they do that, but if it's their choice, and if they do want to do that, the host needs to know well in advance, because we would have to make them a co-host and take some other limitations so that they couldn't see who the judges are and who's in the breakout rooms. Obviously, we have the chat, the record button, and this is the all-important breakout room button here. Now, when I invite someone to go into a breakout room, this breakout room button shows up on their screen and also gives them a message, but sometimes they miss seeing the message that says you're being invited to a breakout room. So if I have to direct someone how to get into the breakout room, I point them down here to the bottom of their screen for breakout room for them to enter their breakout room. And you're going to see this in action later on when we do the dry run. So setting up breakout rooms. This is the actual window that pops up when I click on breakout rooms. And again, only the host, not the co-host, and nobody else can set up or move people into breakout rooms. So first of all, you just say how many rooms you want. So typically I set up 3 rooms. We've really streamlined the process. We put the judges, the timers, the ballot counters, the chief judge, all together in one room for the briefing prior to the contest. And then we put the contestants and the Toastmaster in a second room. And then I have a third room that I just name whatever I feel like naming it, like conference room, but we just call it the oops room. Because if I accidentally assign a contestant to the judge's room, I can't unassign. It doesn't, you have to assign them somewhere else to take away their permission to go in and out of a room. So to remove someone's permission, you have to have a room that you don't care about to assign them to. So that's the purpose of the third room, that sometimes goes unused and at other times is used when 2 people want to have a chit chat in private. They'll just say to the host, could you please put both of us into a breakout room? We need to have a conversation about something that's happening. We've had that happen for technical, computer technical issues. We've had that happen for people that are contesting certain things during the contest, that type of thing. Anybody that wants to talk privately can go to a breakout room, which does bring up that what happens in a breakout room stays in a breakout room, just like in Las Vegas. We do not see anything that happens in the breakout room. The recording of this entire event is not recorded unless somebody is in the breakout room recording it purposefully. And it's a completely separate Zoom session. And in fact, when you leave the breakout room and you return to the main session, all your settings are reset. So I have it right now. One of the 25 steps is that when people enter Zoom, they are muted. And the reason for that is I don't want them interrupting the contest. I don't want the middle of the contest, someone just comes in 10 minutes late and they're not muted. So we have it set so that they are automatically muted when they enter. And when you leave the breakout room and come back, you are automatically muted because you're under now the rules of the main room, no matter how it was when you left. Another thing is that when you're in the main room and I have you locked out, you're not a co-host and you cannot share your screen, that does not apply to you in the breakout room. You could be over in the breakout room and you could be sharing your screen and it could be saying, oh, I can share my screen, and they think that they've got permission to share their screen because they're over there sharing it, when in fact they don't. So it's different in the breakout room than it is in the main room. So here you enter the number of rooms, and you do not, with this red arrow is pointing to automatic, never let Zoom automatically set up your breakout rooms. You don't want that. What Zoom wants to do is just like divvy up all the people into 2 or 3 rooms willy-nilly and just throw them in there, and that's not what you want. You only want to manually set up your breakout rooms and assign who can go into the breakout rooms. So I think that's everything on that slide. And then when you press the create breakout rooms, that's when the rooms actually open up. So here, first of all, you scroll over breakout room number 1. You scroll over that and you rename it to judges or workers or whatever you want to name it. And then the second one, you name contestants. After you've renamed it, then you go over to assign, and a list of all the people that are on Zoom will pop up. And it's generally alphabetical, which is why I really like it when people have their full name, first name and last name, and then after their name have their role, except for the judge, because judges are always secret. So you never put in that you're a judge. That's probably obvious, but sometimes it needs to be said because we've seen things happen. And I'm just about done here. My timer's going off. Sorry. After hitting the assign button, everybody is going to go into the rooms automatically. And I'll show you this again later during the dry run. So basically, I just need to get out of this. How do I not share my screen anymore, Kyle?
Top of the Zoom window, there should be a stop sharing.
Okay.
Oh, this is GoToMeeting. You're sharing a GoToMeeting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So at the bottom of GoToMeeting, you click on the screen share button right next to your camera button.
Okay, I see my camera. Can the host make me not be a presenter anymore?
Sure. Lori, why don't you make Mike Dugan presenter? Take being presenter back and make Mike Dugan presenter. And Linda can finish up.
That's it. I'll show everything during the dry run. That's going to be when the meat and potatoes come along.
Okay. Thank you, Linda. Our third presenter, who's going to be talking about our third presenter who's going to be talking about how doing contests online has changes the contest roles. It helps if I actually have the intro in front of me. In a world where Toastmasters has always impacted lives, a change has come. Now we can change the voice of every district. Who would ever have thought that only several short months ago, the entire world of Toastmasters would begin a journey online? Michael Dugan is a seasoned Toastmaster of 5 years. He is a passionate and dedicated teacher, a mentor, and a chef. Michael is one of the members of the District 2 Task Force, who has boldly zoomed into a brave new future. He would like to share some best practices and lessons learned from his amazing task force, from this amazing task force. Please help me welcome Michael Dugan.
Thank you, Kyle. I want to talk to you a little bit about the District 2 Task Force, and I also want to confirm that you can hear me.
I can hear you.
Okay. I want to talk about the District 2 Task Force. A couple months ago, I got a call from Roxy Stimson, who's part of our district trio. And she said, Michael, I would love for you and Linda to get involved in this task force that's coming out. And what we're doing is we're helping clubs compete online, and we're helping clubs meet online. And you work in technology, and Linda's very technical, and it'd be great if you would join our task force. That was the same weekend that I was getting ready to compete online. And a lot of the contests were postponed. So that contest was actually postponed. And then they said, we're going to have the contest on Thursday. And I had just joined the task force at the same time. So I had these competing, literally no pun intended, but competing things going on inside me. Do I work with the district? Do I help support all these people? Or do I get ready for the contest? Well, I tried to do both. And even though I was the first one to compete online for District 2, I came in third place. But I was so excited because I joined the District 2 task force and help people come online and help people run contests. I think as of today, I would say I've been involved in 10 contests and dry runs. And Linda, I think, is probably up to 15. So we've had a little bit of experience with this. And what I want to do is share some of the contest roles and kind of highlight how they relate to running a contest online. There are two core roles that we have that are not the traditional roles. The traditional roles, you have a contest chair who sets up, organizes, and runs the contest. Usually they plan for about 2 months if it's an area contest, maybe a month for a club contest, and for division it's even longer. And then at the contest level, both at the area and the division, usually you'll have an area or division director involved. You have a Toastmaster, you have a chief judge, you have the judges, the ballot counters, sergeant-at-arms contestants. All those are traditional roles. So they all have traditional, they're traditional roles. But the other roles that I feel like they're silent voices are the host and the co-host. And I'm going to be talking about all these roles throughout this presentation. The host, as Linda had explained, they run the breakout rooms. They really run the contest behind the scenes. They're an orchestrator. They assign co-hosts, like a Toastmaster, for example, would be a co-host because they need to be able to mute and unmute themselves. They also create and assign the breakout rooms for briefings, and they allow participants in the Zoom room. But to me, I think they're one of the core roles for the whole contest, and a lot of times they go unnoticed. So it's really important as you're planning these contests to recognize the hosts. They also have co-hosts, and the co-host assists them. They mute and unmute the contestants and other people throughout the contest. Sometimes somebody like a chief judge would have the ability to mute and unmute themselves, but they're wrapped up in the contest, so they forget. So the co-host can assist them. Also, a co-host is your go-to person. Working with Linda many times, I've had the privilege to work with her. And she would send me into a breakout room to help with someone that was having difficulty perhaps getting out of the breakout room. And the co-host, they also keep an open line of communication with the key roles in the contest. Then we move on to the contest chair. And I want to introduce a concept called jazz hands that we talked about a little bit earlier. So I want everyone to just kind of put their hands up in the air and shake them a little bit. You can feel that energy when you do it. If you weren't looking at my presentation, you would see and feel it. And it's important that the contest chair get people fired up in the beginning of the contest and recognize that it's online and you've got to get that energy out there. That's why we use jazz hands, because we're not clapping, but we're energizing the virtual room. The contest chair also establishes a communication method before and during the contest. Many times they'll be sending emails out, gathering requirements, but during the contest, what happens if something goes wrong? Chat works in Zoom, but we actually encourage people not to use chat. And we find that if there's 40, 50, 60, 70 people online, there's a lot of people chatting. So it's really hard to follow the dialogue. So one method that we use is a cell phone. We text people back and forth. So the key role players in the contest would use their cell phone to text back and forth. They also follow a contest chair script, but that script is updated to include online evolution. And another important thing, obviously you want to recognize the dignitaries and volunteers, but again, remember the host and co-hosts. They sometimes get forgotten. But the dignitaries, when you have a contest online, if you have a club contest, an area, even a division contest, you might have people from all over the world. When we kicked off our first area contest, we had people from all over the world, dignitaries, and you want to recognize them at the beginning of the meeting. And the contest chair needs to figure out who those people are. Moving on to the Toastmaster, you want to confirm your bios are received electronically, of course. But when you go into these breakout rooms and you have a briefing with the contestants, you need to check sound, you need to check lighting, you need to check all those aspects. Are you in frame? Pronounce the name, the title of your speech, those basic things, but the core is to check the technology. And Michael Davison talked a lot about technology, so you want to keep those aspects in mind. Also, you have an online random assignment of speakers. How are you going to do that? There's many methods. I watched a video from TI and they talked about using Excel, or going online, you can generate a random number for each contestant. But the key is that you want to show them that you're doing this so they acknowledge it. You follow a Toastmaster script. A theme is a great thing to have. I ran a division contest on Saturday as a Toastmaster, and my wife took a huge part in it because we surprised people at the very beginning and she jumped in as the Easter Bunny. The great thing about online contests is you can do all kinds of spontaneous things. When you're briefing, you want to instruct the contestants how to pin the timer, and we're going to be talking about that later in our dry run. And then at the time of announcing the 2 minutes of silence, you want to instruct the host to unmute everyone and turn on video. So you tell the audience to turn on their video. I missed that step in our last contest, and I felt like some of the energy wasn't there. But we caught up with it later on. The contestants, when you do a briefing, again, as a Toastmaster, I went in and I did a briefing with the contestants. I confirmed the rules, showed them how to pin the timer, but I think a best practice is also to bring a timer in when you brief the contestants, because then you can show them how to do it with the timer. And then there's one other thing we do that evolved over the time of the contest that we were in. If you can imagine, you're a contestant. I was a contestant. I was nervous because I didn't know whether I was going to be muted or unmuted. When you're a contestant, that is absolutely critical. And that is first thing on your mind and very distracting when you're competing. What they did is they said, when you hear from the Toastmaster is going to say, contestant, are you ready? And please turn on your video. That's a note to the host to make sure the video's turned on. But that's an acknowledgement before the contestant even comes out to present. So they're ready, you hear them, there's an acknowledgement, there's no glitch. Also, you check the sound, the video, as I discussed before, but the contestant is responsible for that and their framing. Another good tip is to do the speaker order in the dry run if all the contestants show up. That takes less pressure off the Toastmaster the day of. He doesn't have to do that, or she. Moving on to the judges, have an email template set up when you're a judge with your contestant names, your club, if it's a club contest, your area, if it's an area contest, or your division, so that you have everything laid out. You have the names all ready to go, and all you have to do is put first, second, third, or whatever the order of the speakers that are competing, like what place they took. The tiebreaker judge, it's very important to note, they do not go into the same briefing as the judges. That's a private conversation with the chief judge that can be held at the day of the contest in a briefing room privately. Also, it's very important for the judges. You do not want to judge based on the audio and video quality. You want to judge based on the judge form and the quality of the speech. In some places, in some circles, it's unfair because some people have stronger and better technology than others. And it's about the quality of the speech. And more importantly, you want to be anonymous. One of the dry runs that we were in, a judge showed up and announced that they were a judge in front of everyone. We want to avoid that. We want to be anonymous. We want to turn our video off. You might even consider changing your name so that you're fully anonymous, both at the dry run and at the contest, because you never know who's going to be in the room. The chief judge, they do a briefing with the judges, the ballot counters, the timers, the tiebreaker. Again, the tiebreaker is privately. They'll share the results to the contest chair for the winner certificates and the ballots to the ballot counter. And the timer, they should attend the briefing as well because they have to practice for the contest. Choose what method they're going to use. Are they going to use a JPEG with a timing flag? But it's very important that they recognize that for that timing, that they also address anyone who could be visually impaired. And what I mean by that is the colors, green, yellow, red, they should have letters on them, black, bold letters. Or if you have timing cards, the same thing. They should practice with the technology. One timer will actually be the one that shows the colors, and the other one will do the announcement when the Toastmaster calls for the timing rules. One timer will only provide the timing to the chief judge, and the other timer, again, will show the colors. And ballot counters, very straightforward. They observe the chief judge sharing the ballots online. They'll actually share their screen, and then they tally them up. So we've made it. We have evolved to online competitions. It's a really exciting time for all of us. I can't wait to watch District 32 compete, plan, and execute for this online contest season. Back to you, Mr. Panel Master.
Thank you, Michael. And Michael, would you stop sharing your screen? Thank you. We're going to move on to our fourth panelist. Lori, are you set up? Are you ready?
I believe so. So now I need to share my screen
Okay.
and be
Well,
ready.
I think you can wait until you hear Madonna's cue.
Exactly.
Okay. Our fourth panelist tonight is Madonna Hanna, and she is a serious speech competitor. She has a background in the real estate fashion industry as well as fashion marketing. Madonna has appeared on television, on fashion runways, and theatrical stages. So tonight, answering the question, how do we compete and come across well on camera? Please help me welcome Madonna Hanna.
Thank you, Toastmaster Kyle. And hello to my darling competitors. Trust me when I tell you that you should invest in a basic black turtleneck and make sure to wear it in front of a black background. When you, you know where I'm going, Mr. Toastmaster. When you do that, it will accentuate your face and only your face. And judging eyes will see just this sinister head floating in the darkness of the universe. Well, just ask our esteemed Toastmaster, Kyle Hall, who had such black turtleneck in front of a dark background, who just creeped out online observers. Seriously, my darlings, when you wear a dark garment, do not wear it in front of a dark background. It is a no-no. Just ask Kyle, but not now because I'm doing this presentation. What you should do for men and women, wear neutral colors like khaki, baby blue, lilac, and pink. Gentlemen, pink looks absolutely wonderful on men, so don't be afraid, does wonders for your complexions. And for those of you who are brave enough to wear a dash of vibrant color, go ahead, try it. You can look amazing, but be careful. When it comes to garment selection, my dears, do not entertain the notion of wearing your favorite comfy clothes that may have just an assortment of prints. Also, consider avoiding garments that have large patterns. Oh my. Also, you want to be careful about patterns that create a weird optical effect. We don't want to distract the judge's eyes, oh no, from your presentation. Also, you want to consider to look as professional as possible. For men, I suggest that you wear a dress shirt with or without a tie or jacket. And another option may be a suit with a tie or a, V-neck sweater with a dress shirt. For the ladies, consider wearing soft fabrics, whether it's a blouse, sweater, or a soft jacket with a soft skirt, not skirt, shirt. And whether you're male or female, no flashy or dangling jewelry need apply. Once you have your ensemble selected, the accessories, and how you want to wear your hair, you need to do a dry run. Yes, you do. You must always check results. So what you want to do is record yourself. We're not ready for the background yet, darling. Thank you, Lori. So what you want to do is you want to either record yourself or have someone else record you. It is very, very important to check your results, because the last thing you want to do is to distract the judges. And also, while you're going through your dry run, make sure that the garments that you're wearing are comfortable enough so that you can easily make your gestures in frame, of course. Now, my darling competitors, we must talk about posture. Good posture is always, always in style. Your camera image should show at least the top of your head to your waist, or top of your head to your knees. Make sure you don't slouch. You want to stand up. Oh, I better adjust myself. Have to do that. But when you stand up, you have a chance to look confident, enthusiastic, and to project that energy that Michael D, the second Michael D, was talking about. You want to be able to do that. I'm trying as hard as I can because I'm sitting down. And make sure to set your recording device so that we will see the top of your head to your waist or to your knees. And I'm going to tell you that you should mark the spot with an X or tape or something so that you've got yourself set and ready to go. And per usual, always check your results. Watch your gestures. Yes, I have theatrical experience and everything is big with me and my gestures. But for the contest, we've got to keep things in frame. So our gestures should be smaller. You may consider moving yourself a little forward or back just to add emphasis to your speech. And be aware of your nervous habits. Do you have a tendency to twirl your hair, run your fingers through your hair? Maybe you tug your ear, or maybe you wring your hands. Remember, check your results. When you're giving your speech at home and recording yourself, notice your nervous habits and make adjustments. Moving on to backgrounds. Michael Davidson did touch on backgrounds. Keep them neutral. As you see, I have a neutral background and we have a neutral background in the slide here. Oh, please be careful of colorfully printed drapes or wallpaper. This is actually the first time I've ever seen wallpaper with peacock feathers, but you can see if you're giving your presentation in front of something with a lot of pattern, you don't want plants or whatever flowers looking like they're growing out of your head or your ears. It just might distract the judges. And also watch out for concert posters, artifacts from vacations, and also instruments. Also, avoid partial views of plants, pictures, bookcases, and also views that lead to another room. And absolutely no hanging portraits of yourself or your families. The judges don't need to be distracted by a pair of eyes peering over your shoulders. And is that James Cameron, or is that his grandfather? And there's Martin Scorsese. I didn't know that he received an Oscar. Oh my. So anyway, you don't want your backgrounds to upstage you. Next, lighting. I believe Michael Davidson talked about lighting also. It is so important to make sure that you are lit well, darlings, because your facial expressions enhance your speech and also your mouth movements. Always check results. So once again, when you are recording your presentation, think about your clothing, think about your background, think about your lighting. Check results and make adjustments. Now for just a few parting shots. Number one, make sure to project your voice with confidence. Two, be careful that the room that you've selected, make sure there's no street traffic. Three, make sure no humans or animals are roaming and making unpleasant noises or faces. And four, concerning eyewear, contact lenses are preferable to glasses which reflect light. Now, obviously, this is an extreme example, but you do get the point. This, my dears, completes my presentation of how to compete and come across on camera. This is Madonna Hannah saying happy competing and good luck, my darlings. And I'm turning this back over to you, Kyle, who thank goodness is wearing a red pullover sweater tonight and not a black turtleneck.
We can't hear you.
I think Kyle's muted.
Thank you. I had clicked the mic button and it didn't take. So thank you, Madonna. And yes, I am wearing my red turtleneck. But that's probably the only piece of advice I have taken tonight. I'm wearing glasses. I have a partial bookcase. I have my office, which is half storage room, half office. It's a horrible, but I'm not competing tonight.
Yeah,
if I were, I would not be here.
Yes.
I would not be here. So
yes.
But yes, I could do a better job than that. Now we are going to do a dry run. We're a little behind, so we're going to have to scurry along. Here's what's going to happen. So Linda and Michael Dugan and I are already over on Zoom, and if I'm looking that way because my other computer's next to me. The other people that I have already identified, if you're wondering, is that me? If you're wondering, the answer is no. I have sent emails to specific people saying, come join us on Zoom. Now, you need to turn off your camera on GoToMeeting. If you have your camera going at all, turn it off on GoToMeeting and come over to Zoom. Leave your audio staying on GoToMeeting. We're using the GoToMeeting audio. And when you go over to Zoom, turn your audio off. Because we don't want to create echoes by having two systems both recording audio. So if that seems confusing, I apologize. And Linda is going to share her screen, and we're going to walk you through a dry run of a contest. And we're not going to do a full contest. No one's going to give us 5 to 7 minute speech. We'll introduce a speaker, and they'll go, hi, I give a speech, and the timer will flash up a green card, and they're done. So it'll go a little faster than that. So we have people who, Laura, you need to make Linda presenter, and Linda, you need to share your screen on GoToMeeting.
How do you turn your audio off on GoToMeeting? How do you make it so people? Okay.
Well, Michael, you're going to stay here, so
Okay.
all you have to do, if you want to, is you can mute yourself.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm not hearing anybody over on. I'm going to turn my camera off here, and I'm turning my camera on here. Whoops. Now, Linda,
Greetings.
Linda, okay, there you are. And you're sharing your screen. Great.
And you don't see the GoToMeeting over the top of it, right?
No,
Okay.
no. However, I do just see me. Am I spotlighted?
You are spotlighted. That was the first instruction in your.
You need to let me in.
Well, actually,
This is Mary.
we're-
I've not been
we're
admitted
gonna-
to Zoom yet.
We're going to let all of you in. Linda, would you show them the waiting room and start letting people in and
Okay, hopefully you
describe
can
what's
already
going
see.
on?
You can already see the waiting room up at the top of the screen where it says participants.
No, I can.
It's at the bottom.
Oh. I don't see it.
It's at the top of my screen anyway. So I'm admitting Mary Morrison, and I admit people one at a time. First of all, I would have gotten here early and set this up, but I wanted you to see me set it up. So I'm going to
I'm
make.
being told that the host has removed me earlier so that I can't get in. This is Mike Marion.
Okay, then someone needs to change the settings in Zoom.
Mike, you do not need to get in here for tonight. You do not have a role in the mock contest anymore because I took
Awesome.
over the Toastmaster role, so we're good.
Thank
We'll
you.
fix it next time.
No problem.
That's a setting that we wouldn't normally use. That's for if someone gets kicked out and you don't want them to ever come back, but we wouldn't normally use that. Anyway, I'm going to create my rooms. I'm going to make 3 rooms. I'm doing it manually, remember, not automatically. So I'm just going to go ahead and create. So I'm going to make the first room the workers. And I'm going to make the second room I'll just say contestants. And then I always say that I don't name the third one oops, but why not? The oops room is if like I said before, if I assign somebody incorrectly. So I see that Mary, I think, is already here and wants to go into the workers. So there she
Linda,
goes.
we still have a bunch of people waiting to come in.
Correct. And that's part of what I do is I do one at a time. And I know it's going to
Okay.
take a minute to do that, but that's how that is. So
So
James,
as you admit them into the meeting, you then shuffle them off into the room they're supposed to be in?
correct. And the purpose of this is I don't really want the contestants to see the judges. So I'm trying to move them through very quickly, one at a time. Does that make sense?
Okay.
And I haven't done evals before, so anyway, I'm going to assign James. And I don't know who Table Topics is. Michael Davidson is a worker. I'm admitting him. Judy Young. Normally I would just go slower.
While we're doing this, I got one question.
Go ahead, Michael.
When I did it, I was a host for my Toastmasters meeting last Tuesday because the regular guy that owns the Zoom wasn't available. I didn't have an option to do breakout rooms, and I was quote unquote the host, I think. I was using his login name and password.
So, Linda, do you mind if I answer that while you
Go ahead. I'm trying not to listen. I don't know who's Table Topics. Who are you? Could you please rename yourself with your first and last name? That would help me a great deal.
Yeah. By the way, that's one of the things that Linda and Michael, one of the things they ask for is they make sure everyone is logging in to Zoom with a first and last name. No nicknames, no short names, no initials. So Michael Ionato, to try to answer your question, first of all, if you were using your Clubmates account, if it's a free account, you don't have access to breakout rooms anyway. If it's a paid account, and the lowest level of Zoom Pro account is the Zoom Pro, you can have breakout rooms, but you have to turn breakout rooms on. It's in a setting. So if that setting is set to no, you will not see the option for breakout rooms.
Okay, it was a paid account, but I didn't see that, and he changed his password, so I can't go back into it now and look at it. But okay, I'll talk to our Division B person and see if I can get our, because I have to use it anyway for our contest.
Michael, I need to interrupt you. We've got lots of people who are trying to move over to Zoom. Do not do that. Only the people I instructed you earlier today to move over to Zoom via email. We do not want our entire audience moving over to Zoom.
Kyle, can you hear me?
Yes, I can, Judy.
I have an option to join with computer audio. Do I just want to X that out?
You can't. She
That's-
can't. But when she comes in, she's muted.
Yeah, so no.
So I just leave my screen as it is. Okay.
Yeah. Linda, Christina Mulakati is not one of our participants, so you can leave her in the waiting room.
Oh, I already let her in.
Okay.
I'm just trying to get as many workers as I can into rooms.
Okay.
I'm just going to call it good for now. So I'm just going to figure I've got as many people as I can into their rooms. I still don't know who Table Topics is. Could you please change your name? I would really, and if you don't know how, you can just put it in chat and I can change it. And I'm going to open the room. Oh, excuse me, I'm not going to open the rooms. So I'm going to go into options. And I personally like to use move all participants into rooms automatically. That's a choice you can make. Allow participants to return to the main session at any time. Yes, you absolutely want to check that, or they're just stuck in there forever, for eternity. Breakout rooms will close after 1 minute. No, there's no reason to close them automatically. Countdown after closing a breakout room goes anywhere up to 2 minutes. I think 10 seconds is sufficient. So when I open the rooms, they're going to automatically move over.
Before you click on that, is everybody the one thing one point I want to make is Linda's been shuffling people as she brings them in from the waiting room, which is another setting on Zoom, is to have a waiting room. She brings them in from the waiting room, shuffles the judges off to the judging room, shuffles the contestants and the Toastmaster off to the contestants room. This is also they can do briefings. Hopefully audience members aren't arriving at this time, but if they are, they can just stay out in the main room. Correct, Linda?
That is correct. And actually they do start arriving now. And I always figured that they're just trying to figure out what we're doing. So I just let them sit in the waiting room and hope that they don't talk too much.
Kyle,
We should have a party room.
I cannot see Linda's screen. I see you.
That is Linda's screen. That is Linda's screen.
Oh.
Judy, you're seeing Zoom, and he's the one.
Okay.
You need to be in GoToMeeting.
Oh, I go back to GoToMeeting.
Mm-hmm.
You can stay here. You're listed as a mock contestant.
You don't have to leave Zoom. You can just bring your GoToMeeting to the front.
Yes, I did that. But Linda, you're talking to host. I'm not going to need to do this as a contest chair. Is that correct?
Yeah, yeah, that's true. That's true.
Okay.
But you're here as a warm body. I don't know why you don't show my list yet. Oh, there's Judy. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and open the rooms.
But Judy, as a contest chair, you want to observe a lot of this so that you understand everything that's going on as the contest chair.
Yes. Thank you, Michael.
Okay, it'd probably be better if we held our questions to the end because we're already on short time. So I just wanted to show you that I'm assigning everybody to the room. And normally the host never leaves the main room because they're in charge of this main room and they're the only ones that can move people, and some people come late. So normally if I wanted to I can either send a message down here. Normally I would send Michael over if I had a question, or I want to say, hey, are all the judges here or whatever. And I can see who's here and who's been assigned because the little green light is on next to who's over in the contestants room. But I'm going to, just because Kyle asked, I'm going to make an exception and go over there so that you can see the room. So I'm going to go over and join it, but I normally would never do this. Usually the host stays in the main room and just the co-host runs over. So I can see the people that are in here. And one of them here, if they were sharing their screen, they could show you that they do have a help button, and that calls for the help from the host. But meanwhile, I'm just going to leave the breakout room. I just wanted to show it to you. You just have to imagine that they have a help button in there. And I can either
Linda,
answer.
I still can't see your screen. I see James O'Farron.
Are you in GoToMeeting?
Uh-huh.
Does everybody
Well,
else see my screen?
the fact that she saw James O'Farron means she was in the breakout room and she was seeing the person who was in the room with her. But she's looking at Zoom. She's not looking. You're looking at your Zoom window, Judy, not your GoToMeeting window.
You should see Kyle right now.
No, I don't know how to get back to here. Let's see here.
Are you on a PC?
Yes, and let me check
You can
GoToMeeting.
use, hold down the Alt key and press Tab until you get to your GoToMeeting and then release everything.
Okay, got it. Thank you so much.
Okay, Kyle, why don't you move us forward and then I'll.
Okay, so Linda, let's watch you take everybody out of the rooms and then get rid of the rooms, because that would be the end of the judges briefing and contestants briefing. Does that make sense?
Yep. Normally they would just bring themselves back. I'm just gonna
Right.
send them a message saying, hey, I'm closing the rooms now, and I'm gonna close it. They're gonna automatically pop back into my main room.
Okay.
They're all done with their briefing. We're ready to go. We're hitting the go button. So
Okay. So our mock contest. Sherry Kenyon is our contest chair. Linda, would you spotlight Sherry Kenyon? Is she in the? Is she here?
I'm not in Zoom.
Okay, fine. Well, we're just going to ad lib then. Let's assume that I'm your contest chair, so I'm going to stand up and I'm going to welcome everybody, and I'm going to welcome guests, and I'm also going to serve as the contest Toastmaster. So I'll do that. And I will ask our chief judge, Mary Morrison, if everyone's been briefed, and Mary would say,
Yes, everyone's been briefed.
thank you, Mary. Okay. And of course, we'll walk through the rules and so forth. Now, we have our test speaker, and I would introduce our test speaker with the name, title, name. And our test speaker is Amy Pepper. Test speech, Amy Pepper. Unmute yourself, Amy. Now, lesson. I have my notes written right here, and I forgot to do this. Lesson. Before you introduce anybody, you should ask them, are you ready?
Thank you.
And you should wait for them to say yes. Amy, are you ready?
Yes.
Okay, Amy, you should probably pin the timer. The timer is Michael Davison.
Okay, just 1 second.
And while Amy is doing that, Michael, would you demonstrate the green, yellow, and red flag for the audience?
One note, can those letters be all black?
Yeah.
Can you change the white letters to black letters? Was that what you were asking Michael to do?
Yeah, that makes it compliant.
Okay. So, is Michael Davison our timer? Is he currently spotlighted or just pinned?
he's spotlighted.
Okay. So Amy, pin Michael Davison, the timer, and I will introduce.
She had to do it before I spotlighted him.
Right. And Amy, are you ready?
Unfortunately, I wasn't able to pin him before he became spotlighted.
Ah, Can you unspotlight Michael?
Yeah, the reason we had the Toastmaster ask is because then we wait for your response. And then after you say that you did it, then I spotlight.
Okay.
That's
So
a cue to the host.
is Michael unspotlighted?
Yes?
Amy, can you pin him?
Yes, I
You're
just picked.
okay. Great. Are you ready, Amy?
Yes.
Okay. Our test speaker, Amy Pepper. Amy Pepper, our test speaker. Amy, start speaking.
Hey! This is the best speech because I'll get great evaluations.
And the green flag comes up and the test speaker is done. Thank you. Big round of applause for Amy Pepper.
Good job. And I made a mistake. I was not supposed to spotlight the timer at all. Period. Amy is supposed to pin the timer. I spotlight the speaker, and I made a mistake.
Okay. Well, we're learning. So our evaluators, we don't have Cindy Nicano and Nick Falco here. Nick Townsend Falk, do we? Not hearing anybody saying yeah. So
you keep talking about spotlighting the speaker. I never done that before, and if I'm going to be, if you could explain that a little bit.
Okay, Michael, we'll explain that during the Q&A section.
Okay.
Bring that up in Q&A. So we do not have the two people who I thought were going to show up and be our evaluation contestants. Debbie, can we use you as an evaluation contestant?
Certainly.
Okay. Madam Host, would you take Debbie and I'm going to and Wes Pepper and me and shove us off into the evaluation room for a second?
Okay, and while you were talking earlier, what I would have been doing behind the scenes is recreating all my rooms because I'm done with the ones that I had. So as soon as I break them out of there, I automatically start brand new rooms. So this would have already been done, but I waited so I could talk you through it.
Okay,
So
thank you,
I'm
Linda.
assigning Wes Pepper, Kyle, and Amy.
Debbie Baker. Debbie Baker.
Oh, Debbie.
Should I be in there as well?
I don't
Kyle?
see Debbie in there.
Yes, and James is Sergeant at Arms.
I need to be in there too.
Okay.
James O'Farron.
Can I just put Amy because I don't see Debbie?
Debbie is table topics.
Oh, that's who's table topics.
Oh,
I didn't know that.
Okay, had I known, I would have changed her name, which good.
And you asked for it.
Yeah,
I
Debbie.
just didn't do it.
Okay, it's not very nice, but there you go. I look at my options. I'm going to move them automatically. I'm going to open the rooms, and there they go.
And you're going to have to follow us in so you can see what's going to go on in the room just for a second. So, Wes, can you come on camera? There's Wes. Now, for our people, so I'm here because I'm narrating. Our two contestants are Wes Pepper and Debbie. Linda's here so you can see what's going on. If she wasn't here and sharing her screen, you couldn't see anyone. James O'Farron, the guy in the middle, is our Sergeant at Arms. He's got his sword. So Debbie is going to be. They're gonna sit that, put their heads down, and time for 5 minutes. And after 5 minutes, well, Linda wouldn't be here. Linda would send a note into the meeting saying 5 minutes are up. Our timer would give us 5 minutes. She'd send a broadcast into the meeting saying 5 minutes are up. And at that point, Debbie could leave the meeting. So Debbie, you should click on yourself and leave the meeting.
Click on myself.
Actually, you go down the bottom right corner. It says leave breakout room.
Oh, okay. Did that work?
Not yet,
Oh,
hasn't.
cute. Okay, I'll try. Oh,
Wes,
cute.
do you have a piece of paper? Any piece of paper?
Leave meeting. Oh, dang it.
Okay, Debbie is left. So Debbie is off is off giving her evaluation
There you go.
contest. Wes, you should
Yeah.
hold up your piece of paper so that we can see your notes. Okay. And you're going to have to stand here and back away from your computer or roll away from your computer just a little bit so you can't be touching it. And you're going to have to sit here with your notes visible and James watching you for a few minutes until we come and get you. Until we come and get you.
Invisible, but visible.
Yeah. So Wes is doing something that we do not recommend for competitors. He has a background. We do not recommend that when you're competing. Okay, Linda and I are going to leave, and in a minute, Linda will send a broadcast message saying you guys can come back.
And,
Okay. Linda, can you spotlight me?
Yes.
So right now, Wes and our sergeant at arms are sitting in the eval room, sitting in their little own private green room, while Debbie gives her evaluation. So let's spotlight Debbie. Debbie, before you give your evaluation, Debbie, please pin the timer and tell us when you have successfully done so.
I don't know how to do that. Here we go. No.
You just right click on Michael Davison and it says pin video.
But in my screen, he's teeny tiny. Oh, well, see, I'm connecting now.
Debbie, you left the whole meeting.
Yes.
I thought she left Zoom.
That's a thing that happens.
Kyle, can I interrupt real quick?
Please.
Okay.
Michael.
So Debbie, one thing to note is when you pin the timer, you have to know which timer to pin because there are two timers. One will show the timer card, the color, the graphic, whatever. The other will be announcing the timer rules when the Toastmaster requests for that. So it's important to know which timer you're supposed to pin. So just be aware of that. It should be obvious during the contest, but I just want to bring it up.
Okay.
And Michael just changed his name to Michael Davison Timer, but unfortunately, there isn't enough room in the window for that to show up.
Hey, Kyle.
Yes.
Quick question. So for the evaluation contestants, usually when you're put out to another room, you have 5 minutes to put in your notes. So is there a timer there to tell them when their 5 minutes are up?
So here's what I would do. I would have our timer here outside the room give us a green flag, and then the host would send a broadcast message which goes into all the breakout rooms. They would send a broadcast message saying 5 minutes is up, put your notes down. The sergeant at arms, which is in that room with the evaluators, would then tell them, hold your notes up where I can see them and step back from your computer, roll back, step back from your computer so they can't be working.
Okay. And then has it been suggested that you take their notes and fold them in half?
That would be another technique. Yeah. So, I would want to hold it so they can see the notes. But if you want, fold it in half. The point is you don't want them to be able to read their notes and be studying while they're waiting.
Okay. I think it's a good idea to have them fold it in half, and then they can't see them, and it's just the sergeant already sees them that way. So it just as a point of procedure.
Yep. Fold them in half, roll them up, however you choose to do that.
It might be good to just hold our questions to the end so we can get through this on time.
Yep. So I
pin the timer.
Right. Is Debbie, you pin the timer?
Yes.
Okay. Linda, Debbie, are you ready to be introduced as an evaluation contestant?
Yes.
Madam Host, would you spotlight her? And here's evaluation contestant number 1.
We don't say number 1. Just the heads up.
And
I'm giving an evaluation and I'm waiting for a green card.
And the green
And
card
so
is
I'm
up.
going to just chat. There we go.
Now, hopefully that green card showed up right away because you had him pinned.
Yes.
Okay, good. So evaluation number 1 is done. Linda, would you broadcast out and bring our next evaluator back? Tell them they can close out or close out the room, however you choose to do it.
Since it's the last one, I'll just close the room.
Okay.
I could have sent him a broadcast message first, but. So who's next?
So Wes Pepper should be. Wes, are you back?
I am back.
Okay. Wes, would you please pin the timer, Michael Davison? You want to pin him so that you'll see the timing card when it comes up.
I think somebody might be spotlighted right now because I can't pin them.
No, you're right. I was
Sorry,
spotlighted.
you're right. I shouldn't have done that. Lesson
Okay.
learned.
I have him pinned now.
Okay, so Michael Davison is pinned. Now we're going to spotlight contestant number 2, Wes Pepper, for his evaluation. Yay! Welcome, Wes. And Wes is going to evaluate until the green card comes up. Leave yourself muted on Zoom, Wes, otherwise we get an echo. Okay, so we've just finished the evaluation contest. We would ask our timer for a minute of silence or between 2 minutes of silence. And of course, you can time that, and the judges are busy are doing their stuff. The judges would then email, don't use chat because chat's too public. And if the meeting gets closed down, you lose it. The judges will email their ballots to the chief judge. And let's go on to the speech contest. And I need to look at who we had for our speech contest. Judy Young is our first contestant. So would you unspotlight Wes Pepper? Judy Young, would you pin Michael Davison, the timer? And you do that by right-clicking Michael Davison and select pin video. Judy Young, are you there?
I have pinned.
You have pinned. Great, you've pinned Michael Davison.
I have pinned.
Okay. Are you ready, Judy? Okay. Our first contestant, her name Judy Young. I give her speech title. I give her speech title. Her name is Judy Young.
It was a dark and I'm ready. Stormy.
Okay.
The green light was the. It was a dark and stormy night.
Judy?
And the green card went up.
Yep, that's fine. Now, I have a question, Michael and Linda.
So apparently I'm supposed to keep talking.
No, he put up the green, yellow, and red. Judy, stop. Judy, stop.
I don't see a green card.
Okay, so you apparently did not have him pinned because
I have
you
Michael
did not see.
But I see.
Okay, so Michael, Dugan, and Linda. I don't know about you guys, but when Judy was speaking, I was getting a lot of distortion and delay.
Yes.
Me too.
Huge delay.
Yep.
Have you had that happen in a contest?
I haven't seen it to this degree.
I've only had it happen one time. And the strangest thing happened. My co-host could not unmute her because there was no microphone in participants. And I didn't believe her at first. And so I unmuted her because I had her microphone. And I asked the lady to stay afterwards so we could have a chit chat. And I looked over and we were talking and her microphone just wasn't there at all on participants, but we were talking.
And I'm looking at Judy Young on participants right now, and I'm a co-host, and she has no microphone.
Doesn't surprise me. Yep, see?
Yep.
Yep.
She's not connected on Zoom.
Okay. Okay. Let's. If this were to happen in a real contest, you should have a plan, a backup plan for communicating in a real contest. Would you
I
spotlight
did not hear
me, Linda?
anything that Linda said. Hardly. About every 10th
Okay.
word.
Right.
I think your computer's too old to do two.
Well, either Judy has a really old computer or poor internet connectivity in her neighborhood at this time. It could be a number of things. But we need to have a backup plan for if this kind of thing happens. So, for instance, in this case, what I would suggest happening is if this were a real contest, I might have Judy log out, log back in, start again.
I think a text would also go to chief judge.
What's
or
that?
Some kind of communication to the chief judge.
Oh, definitely. You
immediately,
the host,
like immediately.
The host, the chair, and the chief judge. This is where they might all go off to a little room and talk about it, and come back and say, okay, we're gonna let Judy log off, come back in, see if it works. We're talking to her, we see if it's ready. Maybe the connection seems good this time, and she has to start where we cut her off.
Another thing to add real quick, Kyle. Sorry.
Yep.
As a Toastmaster, you need to be prepared for this because you may need additional content. You may need to lead a group of people unexpectedly with improv. You may need to come up with something or have something in your back pocket because this could happen. Now all of a sudden you're down in the contest for 10 minutes and you got an audience that you're entertaining. So that's a really important thing to look at.
If you're the contest Toastmaster, you want to have some table topics in your back pocket ready. Judy, we're going to wait. Your connectivity is bad. We're going to wait until we're done with Zoom, and then you can ask us when we get back over to GoToMeeting. Okay? Normally, I would say, okay, let's do our second speaker, and I would continue through the mock dry run, and we do speaker number 2, who is Debbie Baker, but we've already done Debbie Baker as an evaluation contestant. So you've seen more or less how this flow goes. When the speaker is going to speak, I first have them pin the timer. Then I ask them if they're ready. Then I ask the host to spotlight them. And then I introduce them. And when they're done, the host has to remember to unspotlight them and spotlight me, the Toastmaster, again, so that I'm big on the screen. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Is there anybody here on Zoom who has anything they think we need to show people before we move back to GoToMeeting?
I would just comment
Michael?
that most people's videos are off. That's the only comment I want to make.
Okay. Michael Davison? Oh, I'm sorry, Michael Dugan? Sorry.
Yeah.
Michael.
I think it would be good to show, at least for the contestants or for someone that's going to be speaking, how you test your sound and how you look at your video. In other words, in Zoom, there's a unmute option and there's a stop video option and there's arrows right next to them. And you can test your video and you can test your sound through those options. Yeah, thanks.
Linda, you're the one sharing your screen on GoToMeeting. Would you show us? Let's the rest of us leave because I'm afraid if Linda unmutes on Zoom, we're going to get echoes. So everybody on Zoom, except for Linda, log out of Zoom, leave Zoom, and go back to GoToMeeting. Turn on your cameras or whatever. But everybody else, just leave Zoom because I think we're done with it right now. I'll stay here and I'll turn off my camera. Linda, would you show us how to test audio and test video when we're off?
So basically you're down here at the stop video at the lower right, or excuse me, lower left corner, and there's that little
So,
arrow.
okay, I see it. Down in the bottom, right. Yep.
Bottom left corner of my screen says stop video. There's a little arrow. I'm going to click that up arrow and I can go to video settings there, which also includes audio settings. And I have all sorts of settings I can change on the fly. Was there one you wanted me to show?
Yeah, well, you can test your microphone right there, and you can test your speaker. That's critical. If you're a speaker in any part of the contest, you definitely want to do this. And you want to do it right before you go on because you don't know if anything had changed. I don't know if you're
No, I can say I do this every single time I get onto Zoom. Every time I log on, I go up to a speaker and I hit the test. And now, if I were to do this right now and share my screen, you wouldn't hear it because I only hear it in my headset. And the same thing with my microphone. You hit test mic, you say test test, and then you hit test microphone, it'll say recording. You hit test test, you click it again, and it plays back what you just said.
And notice to the right, if Linda went to the right, up top there, Linda, where it says speakers, headphones, Realtek. Yep. If you hit the drop down arrow, you might have multiple. Same as system means that it's the same sound that your Windows system is using. And that can be very confusing because you might plug in a headset and your Windows system is still using the speaker from the computer. So you always want to check and make sure that's aligned and the microphone's aligned.
It can be confusing. In one of my systems, there's 6 different options that show up in that drop down.
Yep.
And sometimes I have to pick one, test speaker, pick one, test speaker until I get the right one.
Yep. And the video is important too because you can look at video and you can see what you look like on video, your frame. It gives you a pretty good idea, and there's lots of advanced features in that section too. If you click on troubleshooting on the bottom, Linda, really quick, and then we'll stop. Very bottom to the left.
What'd you say?
Go back.
To video.
Go back to audio.
Yep. Come down to the bottom. Video. Come down to the bottom, click on troubleshooting.
Oh, right here.
I just want to show this really quick because this is pretty critical, I think. Click on troubleshooting.
I did.
Okay, and then support center. This will take you right to Zoom's website, and there's all kinds of basic level videos that you can learn about when you go to that site. I highly recommend it if you're going to be training people to watch some of those videos.
Okay.
Let's go.
We're going to move into our Q&A part of our meeting. Joanna Tavera is going to assist us. I am about to put something in the chat, so you can privately chat to Joanna Tavera and give her your question, or I just put her phone number in there. You can text the question to her, and she'll pass the questions on to me. I actually need to open up the correct folder. 1 second. And okay, so the first question we have is from Roberta Craig. What platform do you recommend for recording yourself? I don't have an opinion on this. Linda or Michael, do you have an opinion on this?
I don't know what they're recording. Are they testing for a contest or?
Hello, this is Roberta. You had suggested, or Madonna had suggested, practicing your speech by recording yourself before. What platform would you recommend?
I would say Zoom. Yeah, definitely to address your question, because you're going to be competing on Zoom. Okay. So you want to use the same platform. And what's really interesting that you bring that up is you can take your cell phone and you can dial in twice. So in other words, you connect to Zoom with your computer, connect with your cell phone as another person. If you pin yourself If you pin your video, you can see exactly what you're going to look like when you're competing. So if you need 2 people to make it happen, if you don't have a second person, use your cell phone. But I would use Zoom.
Okay.
Thank
The
you.
next question was the one Michael Ionato asked, how can I spotlight a speaker? So Linda, I believe you're still sharing your screen. I'm in, you and I are both in Zoom. Would you turn on your camera so we can see you too? And then show us how you spotlight a speaker.
Are you seeing my Zoom screen now?
Now I am. Okay, so I'm
Okay.
big, I'm spotlighted. So now,
Well, you're
Linda,
not
can you spotlight
spotlighted.
yourself?
You're not spotlighted right now. I took it off, but you were the last
Okay.
speaker. So I'm just going to go up to the little thumbnail of Kyle, and there's 3 little dots. I'm going to click those. Why won't it work? I stopped spotlighting. It should spotlight you. Well, it was
Try
there a minute
right-clicking.
ago.
Try right-clicking in the not in the middle of the picture.
I am right clicking now.
There's
It's not.
pin video. Oh, that's pinning. That's okay.
Oh, it's not because you're co-host, because I've been spotlighting you all along. Maybe it's because there's only 2 of us here.
I think it's because
Maybe.
there's only 2 of you there. Yeah.
Yeah, I've been
Okay.
spotlighting you all along. But anyway, the
more
point
people.
being, you could either use the 3 dots or right click to make the 3 dots pull up. And then it just says spotlight video.
Right.
You'll see it
And
on this list.
here's the difference between the two. If, let's say there's 24 people on this Zoom meeting and I want to look at person A, and I don't care what the other people are looking at, I want to look at person A. So I could pin person A, and they're going to be big. They're going to be big on my screen. But if I'm the host and somebody's going to be presenting, the presenter I want big on everyone's screen. So I'm going to spotlight the presenter. Does that make sense?
But here's the
Okay.
trick, as we found out the other night. If you're the contestant, you must pin the timer before I spotlight anybody. So that's why we ask, have you pinned them? And you need to audibly say yes, which is also your microphone check and your video check.
Okay. Anita asks, if a contestant has technical issues similar to Judy today, how do we deal with that? Anybody?
On my, Kyle, this is
Yes,
Judy.
you're back, Judy.
You can hear me now. The Toastmasters rules provide that it's the chief judge who makes the decisions about technical issues. The
Correct.
chief judge decides whether to pause the contest, and if to pause the contest, for how long, and when to resume it. So it's true. I don't think that was real clear in the discussion.
No, it wasn't.
True that the host and maybe some others are going to want to talk with the chief judge, but the rules are clear that the chief judge is the
chief judge. Correct. What's important with that is that you have to have that open line communication set with the chief judge. I was in a contest where someone tried to chat with the Toastmaster to contest, and that got lost in the shuffle. So you go directly to the chief judge, and the host or the co-host, probably the co-host could help with that because they're not as involved as the host is, and definitely not the Toastmaster because they're running things in the moment. So you have to have that communication open. And again, the reason that we would text each other is because we have a communication line outside of Zoom that we could communicate for something like that.
Now, here's the real trick in my mind. Let's say I'm the contest Toastmaster and Joanna is or Mary Morrison is the chief judge, and Judy starts speaking and I'm hearing distortion. Do I actually interrupt a speaker in mid-speech to say, I'm hearing distortion? And I'm not sure whether I would actually do that or whether I would text the chief judge saying, I'm hearing distortion, should we stop her? I think I would do the latter.
I would
And
definitely be texting the chief judge. I would not make that call because, again, the chief judge is the one that makes the call.
yep,
Kyle, can I
yes,
just answer the original question which was if somebody's having trouble, how do they fix that?
sure.
I was having all kinds of problems, and it ended up what I had to do was make sure all devices other than my computer that used Wi-Fi in my house had to be turned off. So I turned off my iPad, I turned off my phone, I turned off my husband's computer, everything that might interfere with my Wi-Fi connection had to be off.
Okay. So
Yeah, I
that
think
would,
the other thing is to have the speaker reconnect as well, because sometimes that will provide a better connection to the Zoom server.
but the real question is, do we stop the contestant to investigate that? And that has to be a chief judge's call. So
Right.
if I'm the contest Toastmaster, or if I don't think, or if I think there's a problem, I'm going to send a text to the chief judge. Lori, can you make me presenter here so that I can share my screen?
Working on it.
folks. Yep, no problem. I just want to show you one of the files we prepared for tonight's meeting. Okay, I can share my screen. I'm going to share my screen. Oh, one of the files we prepared for tonight's meeting. Do you guys see the spreadsheet in front of you?
Yes.
It lists everybody who had a role in our mock
Yes.
meeting, what their name, their role, their email, their cell phone. So Mary Morrison was our chief judge. Where is that? Where was Mary? Mary Morrison was our chief judge here. So if this were a real contest, I would be texting Mary, and I had her. This file was provided to all the participants in advance, and it includes contestants. Now maybe you don't want to include all the judges, but you certainly want to. The contestants need to know the chief judge, the contest chair, the host. You may not want to include the judges and the tie-breaking judges, but everybody else should be on that list. Okay, I'm going to turn off screen sharing. Next question. Roberta asked, do we really want to close the judges' room? Any reason to keep the judges' room open after the briefing?
There's no reason to keep it open. As soon as I close it, I'm behind the scenes creating new rooms so that they're ready to go when I need them.
Okay. Amy asks, can judges be named Judge 1, Judge 2, etc. as they enter Zoom so they stay anonymous?
I say absolutely not, because what are the odds that someone's going to accidentally turn on your camera, which is any of the hosts or the co-hosts or the person
audio.
that's named that? Correct.
Or
So
audio, yeah.
I think it's a poor idea to name somebody a judge.
And the other thing too is that during the contest, I would highly recommend that judge does not come online with their video. They should have their video off. They should have their audio off until the judging has been done. Then they might turn their video on and be with a group of people. But honestly, I would be as anonymous as possible and probably keep my video off through the whole presentation, through the whole contest.
I can tell you, so I have two different computers here, and one of them has an external camera. So if I was a judge, I would aim the camera away from me. And on this side, I have a little 3M sticky that I can put over the camera. So I can't accidentally show my face. Should I accidentally click on that? Now, so judges should not be named Judge 1, Judge 2. Should we have contestants identifying themselves as Wes Pepper, ISP for international speech, or Debbie Baker, eval for eval contestant?
Very helpful to have those labels on there.
I was thinking it would be helpful, especially if they're consistent. If all the international speech contestants put their name followed by ISP, you can search for ISP in the participants list and you find him right away. Okay, next question. Whoops, scrolling down. We're going to have to stop in a minute. So Kimberly Stark asks, how do you pin the timer? You do that just the way you would spotlight the video, only it says pin video. Mary Morrison asks, are there a limit on the number of rooms you can set up, and can each contestant be in a separate room?
There's a limit of 50 rooms, and you certainly could put each contestant in their own room.
So if contestants did not want to be sitting in the room waiting, or if you did not have a sergeant at arms who could sit and look at the contestants, you could shuffle them off to their own room each. Of course, you'd have to keep track of which one was in which room so you can bring them back in the correct order.
Yes.
Folks, it is 8:22. We have had an interesting evening, a very interesting evening. I think we've covered some important topics. Maybe we haven't covered everything. I think there might be one or two questions left unanswered. This being a Toastmasters meeting, we do want to improve, so I'm going to ask our general evaluator, Judy, to turn on her camera on GoToMeeting so that we can see her and to evaluate our meeting before. And Judy, when you're done, you can give control back to Debbie Baker, our president. Judy, you are muted.
Thank you,
Judy?
Kyle.
Okay.
Now you can hear me. Thank you so much. This has been a good meeting. Kyle, I know that Joanna Tavera is giving you a written evaluation, so I will just briefly compliment you on all the background work you did to get this set up and on your introduction of the panelists. You told me, I thought, just what we needed to know about each panelist. Michael Davidson, your content was superb. You could crispen up your organization. I think you jumped around a little. You started talking about the breakout rooms, the responsibilities. You started talking about equipment. You went on to get a Zoom account. Then you went back to some things about equipment. You made such good points that if you just think of the categories under which your points are and keep them in order, I don't want anybody to lose them, because you told me just what I needed to know. Just a little crisper organization would be good. You ended on a very positive note, which I appreciate a lot. I think you'll have a great contest. Linda, you were next. You also had very good content and a lot of it. When I saw that there were 25 points, I thought, oh boy. I think it would help if you said, there's going to be a quiz at the end of this. Remember these 25 points now. But if you're remedial, you can listen to the recording. So seriously, if you pointed out that we could read those 25 points or listen to the recording, it would help us. You did bring out the main points of those 25 that we needed to know. Good job. Michael Dugan, you're using a dinosaur term, what would be handouts if they were on paper, were very good. Those outlines were excellent and your organization was good. And I learned a lot from all of you. Let's see, what else had I wanted to say? Madonna, you did a good use of humor, good handout. The only way you could improve, my darling, is that you brought in new points in your conclusion. That's my pet peeve, because when someone comes to the conclusion of a speech, I've got all these points, I need to have them summarized, and then, oh no, I've got 4 more to remember. So if you had simply incorporated those 4 things and then summarized at a conclusion, your main point was very clear. Do not distract from the judges. So you had very good humor, very good handout, and a good conclusion, especially the compliment of Kyle's red shirt. I had volunteered to be general evaluator because nobody else did. No, serious. Because I'm contest chair, and I wanted to see what I could learn from this. And I did learn a lot. I have observed 4 contests of District 2, observed 1 and been an officiant in 3. I've learned something at every single draw I run. It seems like there's no end to what we could learn in this. So good meeting, good emphasis of the main points. Thank you.
Thank you, Judy. I was going to ask you to hand control to Debbie. Debbie, can I make one quick reminder to everybody before I hand control the meeting back to you?
Okay.
Everybody, you all received an email from Eventbrite, which of course had the GoToMeeting connection. It also had links in the top. It had the agenda for the meeting and things like that. One of the most useful links there was the Nerdmasters using a running contest on Zoom or using Zoom for contests folder. It's a folder we've set up on Google Docs where the Nerdmasters are putting information on how to use Zoom for contests, like the how to set up your Zoom account that Linda showed us towards the beginning of this night, and the 25 points for setting up your Zoom account that Linda mentioned is there. Lots of other things are going into that. I've got a contest chair script that I'm working on for running a online contest that reminds you to ask the speaker if they're ready, ask them to pin the timer, and that kind of stuff. So go to that folder, keep that folder, favorite it in your browser so you can go back to it. And that's it. I'm going to hand control of this meeting, what's left of it, to Debbie Baker.
All right. Well, thank you, Kyle. We are 1 minute until we are out of time. I will certainly reach out to others and just say thank you so much for joining us tonight. It was a pleasure. It was a challenge. We faced that challenge, and I'd say kudos to the entire group. Thanks for sticking with us. We are all facing these challenges together. On that light note, I want to say that you are always welcome to visit our club, and if you find that you are having a good time enjoying our club, we welcome you to submit an application to join the club. And next month, we are holding a meeting titled Setting Up Officers for a Great Year. This is focused on those incoming officers for the month of May so that they can go forward and be excited, preparing their plan going ahead. So the points that we want to hit on during that meeting are club success planning, succession planning, and planning for amazing meetings. So it sounds like it should be a great meeting. I hope that we will have many new officers. If you have people in your clubs that are fairly new as you finish the elections here this next month, it is a perfect time to send them to us and let them get this exposure to additional information. We are out there for the district. That is what we're trying to do, is to educate and promote. So without further ado, on my computer, I am nailing it. It is 8:30. So everybody have a great evening. Thanks for attending.